Hello everyone and welcome to my gift buying guide for artists. I've wanted to do this video for a little while and it's taken a bit, but I'm excited to get it out in time for the holiday season. It's going to be a big video because I'm going to cover multiple mediums. I'm going to start things off simply with the number one ultimate gift that you can get an artist, friend, or family member, or an ultimate gift for yourself if you're looking to get things on your Christmas list, and that is cash or gift cards. And I know some people say that that's a little insensitive and is not the best gift to give somebody. It's impersonal or untasteful. But really, when it comes down to it, cash and gift cards are the best thing to give, so that way the person that you're gifting, or for yourself, you can get exactly what they want. You can get exactly what you want, and they can get exactly what they want, depending on who's getting the gift, of course. And that way you don't get duplicate supplies, you don't get something you don't need. It is the perfect gift, and you can never go wrong with it. I'm going to probably mention it several times during this video about how perfect it is of a gift and how much it's just perfect for them. So always remember, if you're going through the video and you're like, well, that seems like a good idea, but I think they have that already, default back to cash or gift cards. It's amazing what you can do with it. So we got that one, the number one ultimate gift, out of the way. Let's go ahead and get started on some cool ideas. If you maybe know them a little bit better, you know kind of the supplies they have and what they don't have, and you can shop for them a little bit better. So we're going to start out with some general ideas. These can be used against multiple mediums, things like sketchbooks, paper, brushes, that sort of thing. And we're going to start things off with some sketchbooks. Those are always fun to get. And I will preface this by saying, real quick before we get into things, I just remembered. Keep in mind you can use things from multiple categories to create a gift basket for the person in question. So grab them a sketchbook, some paints, various things, and make a little gift basket. It's really great. So now we'll officially start things off with first sketchbook is the Etcher sketchbook. This baby is 100% cotton paper. It's really good paper. It's really nice, 100% cotton paper. It feels nice. And it's great for watercolor, gouache, anything like that. Throw that back in there. And I love it. I'm not a sketchbooker that often. I tend to go right into my final pieces. I know that's terrible, but that's just the type of artist that I am. But when I do want to do a watercolor sketch, I reach for this sketchbook right away. So this is a great sketchbook to get for someone who does painting sketches. It's a little pricey, but well worth it for the cotton paper, because you know anything you sketch in this book is going to turn out the same way on cotton paper that they would probably be using for their final piece. Another watercolor type sketchbook which I'll recommend is the one I just used for Inktober, actually. I need the name. I think it's by Speedball. Yeah, well, it's by Speedball, but it's the Handbook Journal Co. I saved the little label for it just in case I wanted to show it off. Which I did want to show off the whole journal, but I didn't actually finish Inktober, so we can show off a few pages. It was great. Here we'll find a couple of nice pages. Cat. I did a lion in walnut ink, some flowers and watercolor ink. I taped pages in, so I had no trouble doing all sorts of. This is alcohol ink from Copic markers, watercolor inks. I had no problem with it. It's not 100% cotton paper, it's regular cellulose paper, but this was still an amazing sketchbook that held up with whatever I wanted to do for it. So I highly recommend it as a good sketchbook. It's got 30 sheets of paper, 60 pages. So a little on the small side, but not bad for high quality paper that you're getting for it. So another good sketchbook to pick up. I have art supplies all around me for this, and it's pure chaos, and I love it. Moving right along, let's have some more paper. And These come in a variety of colors. I'll just grab a few off my shelf. They're the Strathmore toned mixed media paper. I grabbed tan, gray, and blue. I believe they also come in a pink tone that I do not have. They come in black, they come in white, they have all sorts of colors. And these are gorgeous, smooth paper. I've used them for colored pencils. I've painted on them with acrylic paints. They really are mixed media paper. You can do whatever you want on them. They're great. They're cheaper than the sketchbooks. You get 15 sheets, so you get enough to play around with. They're little 6x8 sheets. They're fantastic. They do come in a larger size, so if you don't want to give your friend or family member a small sheet, or if you're personally looking for a bigger sheet, they come in, I think, 9x12 and other sizes as well. So I just pulled out the small ones because I tend to work smaller personally. But these are fantastic papers and something just a little bit different that I think would make a fantastic gift for somebody who tends to work on more traditional white papers. It's just something a little different. And that can be fun for gifts to work outside your comfort zone. Last on our surfaces is something for more of the big painters like your acrylics and oil painters. And that is a black canvas. This would work great in a gift basket with some other stuff. If they're used to working on traditional white canvas, this is something a little bit different. You don't set it up with like a burnt sienna or a red or something moody in the background. It already comes pre-moody. It's great for sunsets, candlelit pieces, dark night skies, the darker pieces. And it just gives the mood that you don't have to do it yourself, and it just gives a certain ambiance that you can't get on a white canvas without priming it black. It comes pre-primed, so you get to have your fun without having to prime it yourself, and it's just something a little different, a little bit fun, right? Moving away from surfaces, let's touch some other subjects. How about a palette? This is from the company Meeden, Meeden on Amazon. Sorry that's messy. I've been using it for paintings. I was painting a pumpkin and some other stuff that I had watercolor in it, and I gotta clean it out. I like this palette in particular over some of the other porcelain palettes because this is a porcelain. It is because these two wells in the middle that create the yin yang symbol. I just like having these two in the middle separate and large, that if you're working on a piece that has two main colors and some smaller colors, you can really have a good mix of colors, color wells to work with. It's not very expensive. It's really good, durable, cleans easy. Like, even though I've left this paint in here for a couple of days, it's going to wash right out and I have nothing to worry about. And it's good, durable. You can kind of not have to worry about it. Still, I wouldn't go chucking this thing in over your shoulder, dropping it on the floor. It's going to break. But it's durable that if you kind of be a little rough with it, it's not going to shatter on you. But this is great if your person is still using plastic palettes and has those little cheap plastic palettes, or maybe they don't, maybe they're using plates or anything like that. This is a nice kind of like side grade upgrade to that sort of thing, that they can have something a little more permanent and personal to use. That's very nice. And to go along with this, if you wanted to make like a gift basket with like a palette, maybe some canvases or paper, things like that, I highly recommend throwing in some brushes. Now, my kind of brushes is going to be a lot of silver brush, really. For watercolor, I recommend their Black Velvet. I've used these for many years. I love them. They take a little bit of a learning curve because they hold a lot of water and pigment, so you have to kind of learn to control that. But once you do, these are fantastic brushes. So these are my recommendation for watercolor. They're not going to sit nice. They're not going to, don't sit nice. For kind of like gouache and other things, similar acrylic, silver white is my go-to. I love these. And then for oil, I have two recommendations actually. And that is the Ruby Satin and the Grand Prix. And I use two different types based on what I'm trying to achieve in my painting. If I'm looking for a more traditional rougher finish that you get with like a hog bristle, I would do the Grand Prix. And if you're looking for a smoother, more modern finish, much like the satin and ruby satin implies, I use the ruby satin because it gives a much smoother finish. Now you can also use these brushes for acrylic, but I don't like to mix and match my brushes. These are dedicated in my studio for oils, so I use them for oils only. I would like to eventually get the satin for acrylic as well, but that's for a future time. But anyway, enough about that. All these brushes would make fantastic gifts. Like I said, these work great for oil and acrylic, gouache and acrylic, watercolor. You'll have a grand time. They'll have a grand time. They're great. Just make sure they don't already have them, because you don't really need duplicate brushes, because if you take good care of your brushes, they last a very, very long time. And that's where the whole idea of the cash and gift cards come in handy. Remember, we talked about that earlier, and I said I would be mentioning it again. Now, I can't talk about brushes and not give a little shout out to Princeton and their Velvet Touch. I use these in place of with the silver white if I'm looking for a little bit different texture from my brush. I use these also for acrylic, ink, and not watercolor, gouache, acrylic, gouache, and ink. I use these interchangeably. You can find these a lot of places. They're another good brush that I highly recommend, and they'd make a nice little addition to a gift basket or just a gift on their own as well. So moving away from our kind of like general category that can space out above different mediums, let's kind of focus and let's start with watercolor. Now, if the person you're shopping for or yourself already have some watercolor, it can be hard to shop for, but if the person is just beginning with watercolor, it can be a little bit easier. So if they don't have any professional brands yet, I highly recommend getting them a set to start out with. And one of the good sets you can start out with, it's right on Amazon, is this Sennelier 12-tube set of honey-based French watercolors. I've used this set personally. This is actually empty. I've set it into its own little set. I'll show you real quick. I have it here set up in my own personal tin, which I actually highly recommend these tins. Maybe if your person that you're shopping for doesn't have these set up in their own tin and they just kind of use it straight from the tube, if you want to give them a little tin, they're not very expensive and they would go great in a gift basket again. They're by the porcelain palette Meeden, Meeden, on Amazon. They come in different sizes. They're really great. And this is the 12 set plus a few extra colors I've added personally. And they're beautiful, light, delicate colors, especially if the person you are buying for likes to paint things like flowers and other delicate subjects. I highly recommend Sennelier. That's a really good one. I do have others. I'm just kind of pulling it from my shelf collection. Off the top of my head, I have Daniel Smith. Is another great additive to a collection or a starter brand if somebody doesn't have any professional watercolors. And they have this set here of Perylene Red, French Ultramarine, and Hansa Yellow Medium in these big tubes as a starter blending set. They also have some other sets as well by different artists that have put them together of these smaller tubes. I personally started with one of those. I can link that down below. I don't remember the name of the set. It's been several years since I purchased that set. Daniel Smith is a very granulating watercolor company. So that if your person doesn't have them, if they're kind of like a watercolor collector, you know, the type of person that likes to collect the different types of watercolors. We're bad about that, trust me. These are granulating, so they're a little different. Or if they're just starting out, this is a great brand to start out with because there's tons of colors. I mean, this is just a fraction of the watercolors available for Daniel Smith. They make another excellent gift, and like I said, they have sets, which is another good thing. And don't be afraid, if they have Daniel Smith, if they have Sennelier, you can get them the cash or the gift cards, or you can go for another brand. There's M. Graham, there's Schminke, there is Winsor and Newton. Like there's tons of brands of professional watercolor. But really, if you're unsure, go for the cash and gift cards. Trust me, you can. Moving right along from watercolor to its sister paint, gouache. I would say if your person has never tried gouache or you've never tried gouache before, start out small and get one of these little sets from Amazon. The Mia Himi gouache set that was super trendy for a while there. I think it still is. It was the jelly gouache. Mine has dried up, sadly. I've had it for a few years, but it served its purpose for me in that I got to try gouache and see if I liked it. I did, and I was able to get a professional set from there. I got the 18 color set from Himi. Loved it. Super fun. If I wanted to, you can actually rehydrate this and bring it back to life. So if I ever wanted to use this, I still can. So that's great. But it's a great beginner set. So if your person has never tried gouache, this is a great gift. And it actually comes with, like, you can use the top as a palette. It has a little insert. The palette there, you can see it. I haven't cleaned it since the last time I used it. You can see some of the wells are a little more used than others. You can see it kind of cracked and made a mess. Back over there. I think it came with a brush, but I don't remember it being a particularly good brush. So I would pair that with some brushes, maybe some silver whites would be nice. Or some Princetons, whichever you prefer. But that's good. But if your person already has gouache or already has this set and found out they liked gouache, you might want to get them some professional gouache, in which case I recommend Winsor & Newton. They have a lovely little set that you can pick up. It has like the primaries, green, black, and white. Add in extra colors if you want like browns and stuff. But if you just want to get the set to get them started, that's perfect. As you can see, I started with the set and then I've added extra colors since, and I've had fun with them ever since. Winsor & Newton's a great brand, tried and true for many years. I've used them since I was in high school, which was a long time ago, trust me. If they already have this brand or if they've already got a brand already, remember, Cash is King. Another brand that I personally don't have but would like to get is Holbein. You can consider that one. They have plenty of sets on Amazon and other places you can pick them up. That's a set I would personally like to get next. So I've got my eye on it. Maybe people are going to get that for me for Christmas. I'm not sure. Who knows? But that about covers gouache for right now. Moving right along from gouache, we'll go right over to acrylic. And I'm going to gush about Golden for a little bit here. Starting right off with their heavy body, they have sets, and that's the thing I like about Golden is they have lots of sets, and sets make great gifts. These little tubes here were part of a set that I received, and they come in like with your primaries, so you can mix your own colors. They're fantastic heavy body acrylics, so if your person is still using like craft paints from the craft store as their acrylics, these are fantastic upgrade. And if they prefer the more fluidity, I think that's how you say that, of craft paint, Golden also has a fluid acrylic as well. I personally don't have that because I prefer the heavy body acrylic because it's more similar to oil paint in texture. But they do have fluid acrylics as well. But I will share some more of their acrylic paint with you because I do carry some of their other lines. In that they have their open, slide that over there, their open acrylics, which are their answer to people that like acrylic but want to try oil paint. These are slow drying acrylics that act like oil paint but are not as quote unquote dangerous as oil paints are. So if your friend does acrylics but kind of wants to dabble in oil paint but doesn't want to take the plunge yet, these are great. if your friend does oil paint but wants to try acrylic but doesn't want to do like doesn't want to commit fully yet, these are a great try. And they like these. They come in these small tube sets, so they make fantastic gifts once again. Golden does great with sets, I'm telling you. And last for Golden for me, at least for the moment, is their So Flat matte acrylics. And I've kept these in little boxes so far. I haven't destroyed them yet. These are matte acrylics. They dry completely matte. You can actually see them here on this little swatch is the actual paint, and that's on all of these. These are the actual paint swatched on here. That's why I like Golden so much. You actually see what you get with their product. So when you're looking for that exact color, you can actually look right at it and be like, that's the color I need. So you're never second guessing yourself when you're shopping for Golden paints. You always know what you're getting. So I think these make great kind of mixed media, kind of modern thing. I would paint more modern art than abstract art with these personally. These are great for like more traditional stuff, and acrylic is whatever your heart can dream up. Honestly, it's acrylic. But there you go. These are some of my recommendations for acrylics, depending on what type of art your person is doing. Modern, abstract, landscapes, and portraits, and fun stuff, and whatever your heart desires with acrylics. Go for Golden. It's great. If they already have it, Ash. Can't go wrong. Told you I was going to say it a lot, but it's true. And last for paint, we have oil paint, which I'm going to talk about. Gamblin. Gamblin is a very popular company for oil paint because they are so eco-friendly. They actually, let me see if I can find it. I know it's in here, I just gotta find it. There it is. They actually, every Earth Day, make what they call torrid gray with recycled pigment from their factory. It's different every year, so this was 2022's torrid gray. Obviously not rated. It's just a fun pigment. But this was made with recycled pigment from their factory, and it's different every year. So they're committed to recycling and earth friendliness and eco-friendliness and stuff like that. So they're a great company for that. So especially if your person is oil painting and has eco-friendly in mind, Gamblin is a great company to buy from, which they probably already do or might. So like I said, consider the cash and gift cards if they already have the brand. But if not, if they're just starting out, Gamblin has sets. They have the 1980, which is their student grade, and then they have their regular just Gamblin artist oil colors, which is what these are. They have sets for both. Try to get the artist grade if possible, because you'll notice a difference in the pigment load. And it'll just be leagues better. Their 1980 is a great student grade, but you're still going to notice a difference. And then if they already use this, another alternative you can consider is if you're making a gift basket, get them a giant tube of white, titanium white, giant tube like this, and put it in the gift basket. Because even if they already have white, you're going to go through white like crazy. Like here's one of my whites, which is already almost halfway done. Because I had to buy in a small tube because they were sold out of the big white. I finally got the big white in stock, so I grabbed it. You go through white a lot, trust me. So you can add that to a gift basket with some brushes, some canvases, and fun stuff like that. So, just a thought. If you still want to get tangible stuff, go with the big tube of white. It might not be glamorous, but it's useful. Put it that way. So, there's my oil paint gift for this section. I know it's not glamorous, but useful. I promise it's useful. All right, let's move on to not paint for the moment. And let's talk about pastels, because a lot of people think consider pastels kind of like painting. And pastels are weird. Do not buy pastels for people unless you're absolutely sure they like them. That goes for charcoal too. Pastels are messy and have a very tactile feel to them that some people just do not like. I'm one of the people that I like them. I like getting messy. I like the feel of it. I've loved it since I was in high school. Some people just squirm and hate it and do not like it. And if you buy it for those people, they're gonna say thank you, but man, they're not gonna get any use out of it. So only buy pastels if you're 100% sure they're gonna like them. That said, for those people, let's have a couple of ideas. First off, they have sets. I highly recommend sets for gifts. You can get them sets based off of what they tend to draw or do art of. So, for example, if your person does portrait work, Sennelier in particular, as I'm showing, does sets for portrait, and all the colors inside will be great for portrait work. They have landscape ones, they have generic ones, they have all different types of ones. You can also think outside the box a little with these, pardon the pun. And the fact that I have this, I don't do portraits, but I got this in the fact that I do animal work, wildlife and pet portraits and that sort of thing. These colors are great for that, for animal fur, so I'm using it for that. So think a little bit outside of the norm for some of these, and be prepared to kind of explain that when the person goes, I don't do portrait work, and then you explain animals, and you go, oh, that makes sense. Okay. Another one for pastels, that is good, is pastel pencils. Pastel pencils are really great for adding detail to pastel work. I love these. I just got them recently, so I haven't used them quite as much yet. They're pretty much still new in the box, as I haven't got around to doing any pastel work lately. Problems when you're a multimedia artist. You bounce all over the place. Sometimes stuff sits for a little bit, but it's okay. I always come back around to it a little bit later. I was doing a bird earlier. It was fun. But anyway. They're fantastic for adding detail, like little bits of fur on the edge of the piece that maybe you can't get with actual pastels. So if the person you're buying for has like regular pastels, buying them pastel pencils just kind of adds to their collection and gives them another avenue of adding detail to something that they weren't able to do before. So something to keep in mind. Alright, continuing along with more drawing oriented things, we have colored pencils, of course, and we have two brands that come to mind. I mean, there's three technically for me, but you're going to have a huge, huge budget, and if you've got that, buy the person the Caran d'Ache Luminance colored pencils, because they're lovely. I've tested them in an art box before. They sent a couple, and I know what they're like. They're absolutely beautiful colored pencils. In fact, I'm planning to save up and get the full set of Caran d'Ache Luminance colored pencils when I reach 1,000 subscribers. That's going to be a gift for myself in the future. But until then, my first brand of colored pencils were the Prismacolor colored pencils. You can see these have been worn down over the years using them. Great colored pencil. So if your person is still using, say, Crayola, these are a huge step up. They're great. They're on artist grade. They're got a nice hard lead. I think it's a hard wax-based lead. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. But a very good colored pencil. I've used for many, many years, back when I was drawing anime art and all that wonderful stuff. I did upgrade, or side grade, I guess technically would be the word, to the Faber-Castell Polychromos. So if you want to give a person that already has Prismacolor an alternative, these LEDs are softer. They're a more soft core LED. They are not necessarily an upgrade, but they are a side grade. But they are fantastic. They're another artist grade colored pencil. I prefer them over the Prismacolor only because I prefer the softer lead personally. I find it blends easier for me, but that's just a personal preference. So if you wanted to get them a 12 set to try, that's how I got started with both of these. Was both a 12 count set. Makes fantastic gift. Throw it in a gift basket. You're good to go. Another good gift basket item is these pigment microns. I just grabbed a couple of them, but they do come in a set. Small sets, large sets. They've got all different types of nib types and sizes. They come in different colors. I would stick to just the black and get a set of these if your person doesn't already have a set of these, because these are fantastic fine liners. They're great for lining your work or adding little details. Anything you could use a fine liner for. The Pigment Micron is one of the favorites. I've had them now for a while. I picked up on them with everyone saying, get Pigment Micron, get a Pigment Micron. And I finally did get one in an art box, and I fell in love, and now I've got a ton of them, and I use them all the time. So if your person does not already have these, pick up a set for them. They're fantastic. They're not very expensive. You can throw them in a gift basket with more stuff, or you can just send them as a gift as is. They are great. Let's talk markers for a moment. And let's go ahead and get the elephant out of the room when referring to markers, and that is the Copic sketch specifically, the Copic sketch marker. If your person has talked about these and does not already have them, there's two things you can do. Well, there's three. There's cash and gift cards by their own. But we're skipping over that because we've hammered that enough into your head that you by now. Copic has sets. They have little small, I think 6 count sets that you can grab, and then they have these big massive sets that are ridiculously expensive, which if you're buying for someone special and your budget's huge, get the big sets. They're awesome. That said, if you don't want to get the sets and you can't afford the big sets, what you can do, buy little color families of like primary colors. So like for example, yellow here, you could buy Y00, Y02, and Y06. That way the person can blend the colors together when they want to add highlights and deep colors. Like, for example, say they're doing a sunflower here. They can have Y00 and the highlight where the sun is hitting faded out to Y02, and then the darker areas where brightest on the sunflower, you could have Y06. And these are in the same color family, so they blend together perfectly. You can do that. And they have color family, they're all like this, so they're going to be labeled like this. So like there's another yellow color family right next to it with a slightly different tone, Y11, Y13, and Y15. And I'm missing some in between. You don't need to have the whole color family to work. You can skip around a little bit. Sometimes there is no Y12, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't. I could look in the app. There is an app for Copic markers that you can follow and see what you do and don't have. So keep that in mind. If they have that, you might want to sneak a peek, see what they have, and if they don't have, if they're already have Copic markers. There's a tip. But if they don't have Copic markers and the budget for Copic is a little bit high for you and you're a little bit nervous, I present an alternative that was super popular a while ago, and I don't know if people are still talking about it. I'm not sure. But here, let me grab the yellow of it. And that is the Ohuhu brush marker, specifically the brush marker because it mimics the sketch marker. The sketch marker is also a brush marker. These are Copic sketch knockoffs, but they're really, really good Copic sketch knockoffs, unlike a lot of the others where they're not so good. Maybe they don't have the brush pen, which you want the brush pen. Very important to get the brush pen. That's what lets you really blend markers together really good. They're just really good, and they're really cheap. You can get a big set of these for a good price. You can get a decent set for a cheap price. Like, you can really, they have varying size sets too, unlike Copic where it's either like here's 6 or here's like 100. There's no in between. Ohuhu has varying sized sets of different things, and you can kind of mix and match the sets. So you can get like a pastel set, a skin tone set, a regular set. You can mix and match sets as you go along. So if you wanted to get them gifts over a period of time or whatever, you can do that without having to commit to like the big set right away, which is really good. So I highly recommend Ohuhu. I still use them to this day in conjunction with my Copic. They play nice together, so I use them together nicely, and I still use them to this day, even though I have a very nice collection of Copic markers as well. Now we're going to get into the fun part. This is the part of the video I've been waiting for, and I saved it for last because I think it's going to be the really, really fun part. And that is the weird, different, strange gifts where if you want to get, say you're getting them already that gift card, but you still want to get them something tangible that you know they don't have. These are the weird things that most people are not going to have. So let's start out with a really weird one, shall we? This one's for people that paint, specifically more or less your oil painters and acrylic painters, but any painter will do. And that is liquid charcoal. This is charcoal in paint form. I know, it's kind of crazy, and it was crazy when I first saw it and I got my hands on it. But it's super fun to play with. It takes the traditional messiness of charcoal out of the equation, so you don't have to worry about like smoothing it with your fingers and touching it and getting messy. It's just like as messy as normal paint would be. So if your painter doesn't like traditional charcoal but always likes maybe like the effects it gives, let them paint with it instead. And it's not very expensive. It makes a fun gift, just something a little bit different, and it's a fun, unique gift. So there's something to try for your painters in your life. This next one goes to, I'd say, the mixed media group. Especially if they like working with crayon type textures. And that is these mixed media art crayons by Marabou. I love Marabou's stuff. I keep getting their stuff all the time. I love it. And these are super fun. They're water soluble. So if you mark it down and then use a brush to wet it, you can activate the pigment and spread it around, but you'll still keep that crayon texture where you applied it, so you got to keep that in mind. But they're super fun. Like, they literally say on it mixed media, so they're great for mixed media artists. They're super fun. They come in a variety of colors. They have several sets. They have like a primary set, a warm tone set, a cool tone set. They come in like, I think, a neutrals and brown and black type set. So you can pick them up. They're not very expensive. They're super fun. So if you want to grab those for the mixed media artists in your life, there's something fun to add to their collection, give them something new to play with. Speaking of Marabou, we'll keep talking about them because I love them. This one can go to your watercolor and ink lovers, as I talked about this for Inktober, but this is their watercolor ink. I love this stuff. It's great. I used it a lot during Inktober because it's kind of like a cheat, because it's very similar to watercolor. It dries a little faster than watercolor does, but I love it anyway. They come in these little 0.5 fluid ounce vials. You get about 15 milliliters. And they come in a variety of colors. They come in metallic colors. They're just super fun to work with. And it's just something a little bit different than the usual watercolor and the usual ink you get. The hybrid is just super fun. So it's something to consider for your ink and watercolor lovers, to give them something a little new to play with. Next one goes out to the drawers. specifically, I guess, colored pencil, but sketchers and everything will work well. And that is these Koh-i-Noor Tritone colored pencils. They are special colored pencils formulated with 3 different colors inside the lead. I got the 12 count of these. There's just 12 count as well. In a Paletful Packs box many years ago, and I fell in love with them. I break these out every once in a while just for fun, for sketching, for doing little things in my sketchbook. And they are super fun, super vibrant. You don't have to worry. Don't worry about having to get the proper shading and things like that. They're just super fun. They're not anything you're going to make a final piece in, so I highly recommend them for people that like sketching. You can either just sketch with one of these pencils, or you can sketch and then color with one of these. They're just a super fun colored pencil, not very expensive, a good fun time for people that like that sort of thing. So I highly recommend. And the last thing I'm going to recommend is a surface, a very interesting surface, I think. It kind of falls back to the toned tan paper that I recommended earlier, but it's a little bit different. This is from B Paper. It's brown recycled rough sketch paper, and when you look at it and touch it, it literally feels like a brown paper bag from the grocery store. It looks like it feels like it sounds like it, but my goodness, is it fun to draw on. Throw some pastels on it, throw some charcoal on it, throw ink on it, whatever you want, charcoal, colored pencil, you name it. It is super, super fun to draw on. And for a while there, I thought they weren't going to make this anymore, so I wasn't going to recommend it. And I kind of stopped using it for a while because I thought it was going to be gone forever, so I just like held on to this pad and didn't want to use it. But thankfully it seems to be back. On Amazon, you get 50 sheets. It's only 70-pound paper, but it holds up like a champ. It's really fun, and it's just a fun, unique paper that I recommend have fun with. And that about wraps things up for my gift buying guide for artists. I hope you found this useful and you were able to find something, especially in the weird section, to get your art friend or family member or art person, or even something for yourself this holiday season. If there is anything here that I showed off that you have questions about, feel free to ask in the comment section down below. Any questions, anything you want to see, if you'd like to see artwork done with any of the mediums or any of the stuff, I'd feel free to ask and I'll show it off on like Instagram or something. Really, I'm happy to show off anything that you're curious about. If you liked the video and found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel. And if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. I do art haul videos, helpful videos like this. I want to share some of my art with you. Tips, tricks, guides, you name it. I'm kind of all-encompassing love of art here. And I guess until the next one, take care, have a good one, and bye for now.